We're continuing our draft coverage, and today we're covering the Orlando Magic, specifically the number 6 and number 11 overall picks in the 2023 draft. We're going to break down the prospects that could be on their radar and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
All right, basketball fans, welcome to another episode of NBA Central, holding it down for the team here. I'm Haize. You can follow me at CEO Haize. That's CEO Haize. And let me be clear. I want to clear some things up. As we've been going through these, I know that these lists are draft prospects that I think should be on their radar. It's not necessarily the extent of it. Every team should have a draft board that's at least 10 to 15 players deep, just in case. But I go over kind of the more likely scenarios for each team, according to kind of looking at mock drafts that are around, looking at kind of the news and information that's come out about what that team could be also looking for in the draft. That's kind of how I build my draft board. So, again, if you come in, you're a fan of the team, please do not hesitate to mention any other prospects that you think could be on the list of your favorite team. So, I just wanted to get that out there. Today, we're covering the Orlando Magic, who have the number 6 and number 11 pick. And they sit in a great position to maybe trade one of those picks. We don't really cover that too much here, except for the Portland case. That's the main one that I covered the trade scenarios on, just because it's so kind of evident that they're going to be looking to shop that pick. But with the Orlando Magic having number 6 and number 11, I would not be surprised if the Magic do listen to offers on one of those one of those picks, but they could very well take both of them, add to that young core, and keep it pushing. But we're going to go ahead and start off with number 6 here. The first prospect that I have on the list is one that a lot of mocks have the Orlando Magic going to, and that is Anthony Black. Anthony Black, 6'7", 185 pounds, out of Arkansas. A bouncy power forward. He has a high skill level. He is a very skilled player. Solid athlete, big frame as well. Shapes up to be a pretty good ball handler and passer at the next level. And he could run an offense and be a point forward on the next level as well, depending on where you put him at on the wing, point guard, small forward. He's one of those players that, depending on how his frame fills out over time, you can see him playing at the wing or playing point guard, and that is kind of why I like him here for the Orlando Magic. The Magic, who have tons of point guards on their roster, right? But Gary Harris, their starting shooting guard, you want to start looking at possible replacements there and players that could step up, fit the timeline as well for the Orlando Magic. I really like Anthony Black here for them as well. Solid jump shot as well. He has a beautiful jumper overall. Like, the shot looks beautiful. So with those mechanics, you can see him turning into a three-point shooter. He's not been a volume three-point shooter yet at the at the collegiate level, but you never know what a player could turn out for. The mechanics though are there. And so while he tends to be a pass first player, do not overlook the potential of his offense to grow as well, especially if you play in a more high tempo type game. He's, like I said, extremely good athlete. He moves around on the court, makes it look beautiful. He makes decisions, knows how to use the body control very well also. And he has with his big frame, he knows how to use the skill set that he does have to that. We don't know if he'll ever be a volume three-point shooter, but again, there's enough proper mechanics with that jumper there that you could possibly see him turn into a nice knockdown three-point shooter, but again, not ever a high volume three-point shooter unless, you never know what potential he could eventually turn into that, but you eventually want to see him be able to take the wide open threes consistently and confidently. That corner three, if he could turn that into a weapon for him as well. Now, while he is a smooth and athlete and understands to know his body, he's not an explosive athlete, right? He's not, not super quick, but he is fast if that makes a decision. He could take players off the dribble, but he doesn't always create the best separation at times like that. And he's not a natural scorer. He has some scoring ability, and as he polishes off that point of his game, you can see him maybe turn up more into a half-court scorer. But again, right now, in the half court, he doesn't really do a lot as far as setting up offense for himself. So that's what you want to look at that. He struggles as a shooter. He's 30% field goal percentage so far on 2.8 attempts per game. So you want to see that kind of correct itself. While the jump shot looks really good, he doesn't really get a nice elevation on it yet. So again, that's some of the mechanics that you can kind of work with him as well on the weaknesses of his game to get him to be a better shooter overall. But I think when I look at Black, I think that he's one of those players that as he starts building confidence at the NBA level, do not be surprised if he starts scratching that scoring potential a little bit more. Next up, as a pick at that number 6 position for the Orlando Magic, we have Jrue Walker coming up. He's going to be here for the next couple of ones because it's kind of hard to gauge where he's going to go. He can either go more towards like in that top 8 area, or he can fall and maybe go as low as 12th, depending on some mocks. But again, big forward as well, super strong with it, at big shoulders, huge frame. He's 6'8" with a 7'2" wingspan. The guy can come in. He has vertical explosion on that. He fits the mold of a modern day 4/small ball 5 as well. He's versatile. He can guard multiple positions on the floor. And, he's a solid rim protector as well. And that part of his game can grow as he goes forward as well. He knows how to use his wingspan to get those shots blocked in that area. So again, he doesn't do a lot of ball handling, but again, you're not necessarily expecting that for him. His biggest growth and improvement is going to be on that offensive side of the ball, but at least he's coming in. He has a skill set, quick, agile as well. He can overpower any kind of smaller defenders on him if he gets those. So those smaller kind of forwards, if they get on him, he's going to be able to really use his size against them. And he finishes through contact decently. So while he's versatile on the defensive side of the ball, that lack of lateral quickness can really come and hurt him more out on the perimeter because he can be a little stiff in those areas. But again, I like Jrue Walker's talent level overall. There's going to be some things that you need to work out of his game, but he at least comes in with a very solid frame and things that he can do already. Next one up at number 6 is Asur. I always pronounce his name, but the other Thompson twin. This is my first time talking about him. I think when you can look at him and the skills that he possesses, that he can fit onto the perimeter of most teams. And again, because shooting guard may be his initial position, I think the Orlando Magic can have, they have a heavy guard rotation, but they can use him. He is an explosive athlete. All the physical tools are there for him, right? The lateral quickness, the dynamic speed, everything is there for him. He has an extra gear as well, getting out in transition. Now, there have been some cause for concerns and doubts around the Thompson twins, just because of the league that they played in. But what I'll say with that, I'm not too worried about it. Again, this is all based off potential anyway. He has an amazingly quick first step. If he gets out in the open court, just watch out for him. His ability to run the floor, jump out the gym, and be a good finisher on alley-oops. This guy, if you get him on a fast-paced team that gets out in transition, that plays solid defense and gets out in transition, it's going to be dangerous for him. His defensive potential on top of that, using his size and his length, this is a guy who can shape up to, like I said, can play next to a lot of different, he adds a lot of versatility in how you can build out the rest of your roster as well. He adjusts in midair on some of those finishes as well. So those are really he has found a way to also be effective with not always having plays drawn up for him, which is a huge asset when you're coming and kind of gaining your notice and your footing in the NBA. You're not going to get plays called for you more times than not. And if that's the case, he's going to be able to still find a way to impact the game. He's a hugely unselfish player. Him and his brother both are, maybe even sometimes to a fault at times. And he shows good timing and feel as a passer as well. Now, some of his weaknesses, that athleticism that he has, sometimes he relies too much on that athleticism. So that skill part of his game is going to be something that a coach is going to have to make sure that they coach him up on, right? He's not a natural scorer by any stretch of the imagination, and he's going to have to learn how to get a little bit more creative with his offense if he's going to score at the next level consistency. And that jump shot, it needs to be a work in progress. He can work on getting that release a little bit quicker as well. He only shot 65% from free throw range as well, and with his athleticism and his ability to get out in the open court, you expect him to be able to get to the free throw line, so you want him to start hitting those free throws at probably a more consistent clip. Get that more up to the 75, between 75 and 80. So work on that part of his game as well. But again, he's a little raw in that area. The half-court offense as well can be a little bit of a struggle for him at times. But again, because he doesn't have a lot of plays called for him, maybe that's a part of the game that can grow and develop for him as well. Overall, those are the players that I like at number 6 for the Orlando Magic. Next up, though, is number 11. And this is a pick that maybe they can look to move. But the first player up is one that I'm going to talk about is out of France, 6'7", 200-pound small forward, Bilal Coulibaly. Listen, I know I'm terribly mispronouncing his name, but again, hugely athletic wing. Great size, excellent length, wingspan that measured at 7'3". He had a late growth spurt going from 5'11" to 6'6", right? and without losing any of his mobility. So he has those guard skills, and that's something that's going to allow him to really play pretty well. He's a smooth athlete. He has a good feel for the game. His leaping ability off one or both feet is elite, so he can do that. He likes to play above the rim. Using him in pick and rolls, pick and pops, using him also in transition is going to be nice. So that's really, he gets up. He gets up, and that's one of the things with him. He is a monster in transition, and if you're going to play that style of basketball, you can do a lot worse than him. I really like his skill set. I really like what he can bring to this Orlando Magic team as well. That explosive first step, the raw athleticism is all going to be great for him. But on the weaknesses side, he needs to bulk up. He's going to have to really bulk up to learn to play with the bigger wings and forwards at that next level. While he does have a natural feel for the game as well, he's not a finished product at all. And so this may be somebody that you see in the G League, no matter where he's drafted at, by the Magic or any other team. Since he is so raw, he's probably going to spend a lot of time down in the G League that first year. But again, I don't necessarily look at that as a negative for what you're going to get at and what that ceiling is for him. He can be extremely passive on offense at times as well if it's not out in transition. And the half-court offense seems to be a little bit too much for him at times. So again, so it is, and the shot release on him on pull-ups and things like that needs a lot of work as well. So if you're going to go high upside and maybe not a player you're not expecting to go right into the rotation right away at number 11, he can absolutely be a pick there. Next one up, though, Grady Dick. I can't believe, listen, we're talking about Dick on the show. But Grady Dick, when you look at him, 6'8", 205-pound shooting guard. He has great size at that wing position, and he has a nice frame. He's probably going to put on a few pounds of weight over time as well. The athleticism is cool, right? Not the jump out the gym athleticism that you see from some of these more modern day guards, but again, he has enough of that athleticism, as you're going to see in this highlights, where he can make the explosive play from time to time. As he gets stronger, he's going to get even better in that. But the special thing about Grady is going to be that corner three. He can step into the NBA and be a corner three specialist right away. Right away. A knockdown shooter from three-point range, basically. 42% on three-point attempts with 5 attempts per game. That's solidly, right? And, his release, he gets it off quick. He understands how to create space on that as well. He knows how to rise up and get enough air on that jumper as well. That paired with the athleticism and the ball handling that he can do and some of that playmaking, again, he's a smart basketball player. What he lacks in sometimes athleticism, he more than makes up for with his intelligence and basketball IQ as well. Doesn't waste a single step on the floor. Everything that he does, because he isn't the best athlete, he understands how to do that. If you need a floor spacer as well as a player that can get out in transition and finish around the rim, that's going to be it. Not, like I said, not the biggest athlete. He's not going to be a world-class athlete in the NBA at all. That lack of strength at times can get to him as well. But again, if he can add to his body, you're going to see that. Some of the quicker players on the defensive side of the ball, when he's defending them, they're going to eat Grady Dick up. Whoa, that's a pause moment. But they can potentially kill Grady Dick on that side of the ball. So that's something that you want to look out for, right? And so he's relying on that IQ, and sometimes that can get him off in some areas. But overall, Grady Dick as a prospect, there are some mocks that have him projected to go in that top 10. But if he's there at number 11 for the Orlando Magic and they go more big in that first pick, I can see them picking up Grady Dick and enjoying Dick. Wow, that is really tough to give analysis on a player like his last name's Dick. But they can give, they can really bring him in, have a nice role for him, and I think Grady Dick is going to turn into a pretty nice prospect. I don't think he's going to be like any world beater or anything, but somebody who can come in, play in transition for you off the bench, hit some corner threes, become a corner three specialist, and a three-point shooter overall from around the field. Grady Dick has a nice ceiling ahead of him. So let me know what you guys think of these prospects. Make sure you're also following the show at NBA Central Pod. Make sure you hit that subscribe and like button as well. We're dropping these every day during the week. Daily content here at NBA Central. We drop multiple times a day because we have the morning show, and then I usually drop this in the afternoon. We'll also be here for live post-game shows after the NBA Finals, so be tuned in for that as well. But that's my time for today. Follow the show at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything NBA related. And I'm out here. I'll see you guys next time I feel like making a video. Probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.